Welcome back once again, Sports Talker Nation. This is your host, the G-Man, as we continue our position-by-position breakdown of the 2016 NFL Draft. Today we're going to talk about defensive tackles. Not as sexy as defensive ends, but just as important to setting the front seven of your team. Makes your corners look better, frees up your linebackers to make tackles. All in all, really important position, and this draft has a lot of good ones. Although you're going to see some differences, in my opinion, at the top. From some of the so-called experts say, I think there's a lot of talent to be had. So we're going to start off with a lot of red flags with my number one pick, Robert Nkemdiche from Mississippi. He has tons of red flags. Not so much smoking weed. I would guess that pretty much everyone in college has tried smoking weed, and I would guess that the majority of people listening to this have smoked weed. But it was how his reaction to it and his relaxed attitude in answering about it that really have teams questioning him. It was, yeah, I did it, and yeah, it was dumb, but I take full responsibility, but it wasn't my fault. Just didn't do it that well. As far as natural talent goes, most natural talented guy in the draft. I remember years ago when he was the number one high school kid, he actually lived up to it. Played fullback in college, super quick and athletic. Could probably play end, even though he's giant. But he's so quick. I love his talent. I'm willing to take a chance on him. Now, if I'm a top 5 team, do I take a chance on him? Probably not. But if I'm a top 15 team, I do. I think he's that talented. I think he's like a Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox, who also played at Mississippi, same quickness, same size, same ability to play end, and he's an absolute superstar. So if Nkemdiche can get there, put his weed smoking in the past, I think he's got a chance to be really good. Next is A'Shawn Robinson. He comes with almost no red flags. Played for a great team. He's bigger. He's stout. He's a run player that plays with his hands, and he can actually create a pass rush on the inside because he's quick enough to shed a guy and slide into the gap. Didn't have a lot of sacks, but he made a lot of plays. He also kept those linebackers at Alabama, where they always have good ones, free to make tackles. Even without the questions about Nkemdiche, I think it's close which one of these guys I would take. And once you factor in those questions, Robinson is a much safer pick. I think he can be like a Marcel Darius, who I think is a damn good player. So A'Shawn Robinson, certainly up on high on my board. Next would be Kenny Clark from UCLA. He's a big, tall dude, sometimes to his detriment. If he can use his leverage, which he showed the ability to do most of the time, he can be an every down tackle. I don't think he's going to be a star, but I think he can help you set the point of attack and maybe get a little bit of pass rush like a Tony McDaniel. So Kenny Clark has a chance to be pretty good. Austin Johnson from Penn State. The rarity from him is that he is a much stronger pass rusher from the tackle position than he is from your standard run stuffer. I don't think he's quick enough to slide out to play end, so I don't think that's in his repertoire. But he's really quick and energetic, and I think he'll carve out a role as a pass rushing tackle in pass downs. I don't think he can be an every down end or every down tackle. He reminds me like a Cullen Jenkins, but a little smaller. The next on my top 5, last on my top 5 is Jarran Reed. People like him a little more than I do. People have him as a top 3 tackle, and I do think he's a damn good player. Again, like Robinson, big, strong run player, except he doesn't have the ability to contribute as much in the pass rush. I don't think he has the speed or the quickness. I think he'll take on blockers for you and keep your linebackers clean to make tackles, but I don't think he can do a lot in the pass rush game. I consider him almost like a Benny Logan, who has a little bit more pass rush upside than Reed, which really limits his overall upside. So there's the big 5. Next 5 in order would be Adolphus Washington from Ohio State. Steady, not flashy, just going to help you out. Andrew Billings from Baylor, probably the exact opposite. Strong and a potential beast that sometimes looked like all-world and other times just totally disappeared. So who knows what to make of him. On his talent alone, someone will take a shot. Niall Lawrence Sample, I like his pass rush capability from the tackle spot, but he was almost played a bigger end role in college, so he's going to have a lot of work to do to shift over. Chris Jones from Mississippi State reminds me of Austin Johnson. Not huge, but has good strength and quick hands, can rush from the inside the pocket. And the last is Malik Collins from Nebraska. Big enough, quick enough, not a speed rusher, but fast enough to get there. He's going to help you in a lot of different ways. So, again, I think the defensive tackle draft class this year, really strong. Everybody always needs one of those. You love to get up to the top 5 or the top 25 picks to get one of the big 3. But if you don't get in there, I think you can get talent later in the draft. So with your 2016 position-by-position breakdown, today we talked about defensive tackles. I'm your host, the G-Man, and I am out.